Okay, y'all, I'm Alex,
I'm Cruz.
and this is Nostalgia Junkies, your one stop podcast for all things nostalgic. We're talking 80s, 90s, 2000s pop culture, toys, video games, more, just everything freaking awesome. Oh man, it's just like the best things of childhood.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of the best things of childhood, toys.
Toys, a lot of toys.
And we're in toy hunting season. I mean, we've had what? The Manchester Comic and Toy Convention,
Yep,
New England Comic and Toy Convention, and this coming weekend,
it's a big one for us.
woohoo, we're going to the Chicago Toy Show.
Yes.
I cannot wait.
So I was reading a little bit. Not 7 buildings, 9 buildings, 1,000 tables.
Throughout the entire show, 1,000 tables.
Yes,
That's a lot. Like,
it it is a ton, a ton.
I mean, how many vendors would you say were at New England Comic and Toy Convention?
I would say like 20.
Oh, I think more. I think that's like more Manchester Comic Toy Convention. I would say there's like more like maybe 40,
Or,
maybe 30,
maybe 30
maybe
because
30.
people had more room
I mean,
there. They had
it
more
was a
tables.
it was like a small hotel, motel, Holiday Inn
Yep.
ballroom.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this Chicago Toy Show,
Yes.
like these buildings are like warehouses,
Yeah,
correct?
they're massive. Yes.
So like we're talking 9 buildings, 1,000 vendors. That's over 100 tables or 100 vendors
100 tables.
per
Yeah.
building. Wow, I couldn't think what they were called.
Our math is not mathing right now.
Dude, I'm just like thinking because like, is it 100 tables or 100? So is it 1,000 tables or 1,000 vendors?
So it's 1,000 tables. Every vendor has about 2 tables, 8 foot long.
Okay, so 500 vendors.
About 500 vendors.
Okay. If you're wondering why we're little anal about what the thing is, different vendors bring different things, different quality, different quantity, different eras.
Yeah.
Now, but this is all like retro toys,
All retro.
right? So anything like early 2000s, like 2005
Yeah.
and earlier.
Yeah. And the crazy thing, right? Like our local shows, we know the people, we know where they're usually set up, so we can go hit our guys right away when it opens up. But we're
This
winging
is
it.
this is hunting.
Yeah, we're winging it, man. We're just throwing a rock at a building and saying, that's the one we're going into.
I'm also excited because like when we go to our local shows, like we have vendors like Justin Spruce Retro
Yep.
Hunting. If you watch him on YouTube, we have Mike MD Pockets.
Yep.
We have Grant who works with
Yep.
Spruce. We know our local guys.
Yeah. Jonathan,
However,
East Coast.
but like this time, instead of them being vendors, they're also hunting with us.
Yeah, it's
Like
gonna
this is a
it's
lot.
yeah, it's gonna be, and we're gonna have special guests in our videos.
Yeah, so if you're a fan of like all the retro stuff on YouTube,
Yeah.
whether it's like Pixel Game Squad, Retro Rick, or if you're more of like Froggy Flip Speed,
Yeah.
you probably know the channel Pixel Dan and Ed's Retro Geek Out.
Correct.
We are going to be hunting with we're going to be hunting with them too, as well as
Attic
not
Inv-
another retro channel
And Attic Invaders.
and Attic Invaders. That's right.
Narc and Greco.
Narc, Greco, obviously Spruce is a part of
Yeah.
that.
Boston Mike.
So it's just going to be really fun to kind of like hook up with these guys because it's like I know when I got back into hunting and doing all like the toy thrifting, they were the channel that I watched.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I remember you and I talked about this. Like, one of the main channels that I watched was Spruce and didn't realize that I was buying from him at local toy shows
For the longest time.
because you watch his perspective of his videos from a GoPro.
Yeah, you never see him.
Never knew who he was until I even bought stuff from him on Whatnot, didn't know it was him.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough to compose ourselves, right? Like we've watched these guys for years
Mhm.
and we're finally Not
hanging with
just
them.
going to good yeah,
Yeah.
not just meet them. We're gonna hang
Yeah.
for 3 days with them.
Well, it's funny because there's a store in Utica, Michigan called Sergeant Reds,
Mhm.
which did a phenomenal video series about 4 or 5 years ago, where they bought this house, cleaned it out, and turned it into a massive toy shop.
Yep, yep.
They do like the Dan Stravaganza, where they bring in Pixel Dan as well as what's it, Secret Toy Show, or they do all like the documentaries on the old cartoons.
Yep, yep.
And Dan, there's a Dan that hosts that show as well as there's Pixel Dan, and they bring both Dans to do meet and greets at the show,
That's
which
awesome.
is cool. We're not doing meet and greets.
No,
We're hunting.
we're hunting.
We're hunting. So like I know I'm excited. What's one toy line that you're either really looking for or looking to complete?
So, I mean, we've talked about it. You actually bought me my first 2 pieces of the line. Uh
Sealed
Sealed.
feels the
Yeah,
line.
so
Computer.
computer computer warriors is my main one. Um you never see them, so I mean, I have a good opportunity. 1,000 tables. I should find some.
Mhm.
Then the bootlegs, man. I think our whole group is on the bootleg kick, so see what we can find.
I feel like we need to make a reel of every bootleg that we find with the song "Booty Booty 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 Rocking Everywhere" just in the background. Like,
It should be good.
but no, dude,
What about you?
I'm also looking for bootlegs.
Okay.
I love my bootlegs. I just put out a reel talking about how y'all know I love my bootlegs.
Correct.
Um, but that I want to find more carded Captain Planet figures, but
Okay.
specifically the ones made by Tiger Electronics.
Okay.
I like that card art more.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
behind me.
I have one. So if you're looking from Cruz's perspective, you can see probably Huggus Greedley, maybe Captain Planet, but then you can also see Dr. Blight. If you notice, the Dr. Blight card is different.
Mhm.
And I never thought it was going to bother me when I bought it until I hung them up. And it bothers the crap out of me because it's produced by Kenner and not by Tiger. So the card back is different. It's an OCD thing. It's totally an OCD thing.
100%.
But it's funny because if you look at like the actual backing of, so if you look at the Dr. Blight and Hoggus Greeley, it's the same artwork. It's literally the style of the card.
Yeah, it's just the little they did an umbrella and they did like a little swoosh. That's the only real difference, but it makes a big uh change in the way it hangs on the
Yeah.
board.
Yeah, but so I'm looking for more Tiger Electronic Captain Planet,
Okay.
or I would really love to complete Creepy Crawlers.
Ooh.
I feel like I'm gonna find some Creepy Crawler figures. If I remember, I'll throw in some B-roll of Creepy
12,
Crawlers.
right? 12 in that
Uh,
line?
yep, 12 in that line. Yep. So I have four of
So,
the heroes, one of the villains, and it's funny because we found Creepy Crawlers figures now twice when hunting.
yeah.
However, every time we find them, it's always the same two.
Yeah. It's sadly you missed out on Shop the Curiosity last year,
Don't remind me.
and I was gonna buy the whole line from a gentleman, but he wasn't budging on the price. So I missed out on that, but you would have had an opportunity to buy them all from me.
I will say one of our friends did pick up almost the full entire line. I want
Yeah,
to say there was like 9 or 10 figures.
but he kept them.
He kept them for his personal, even though 8 of the ones that were in there were ones that I needed to finish the line. But there's no hate. There's no hate on that. There's
No,
jealousy, but there's no hate. It's more just like, okay, next time it's mine.
yeah,
But we talked about New England Comic and Toy Convention.
yeah,
I think this is kind of a cool thing for nostalgia junkies. Like we've been doing this podcast now. We're closing out our third season.
correct.
We after this episode, there are 4 more episodes in the main season, and I've been looking for ways like what can we do to grow the channel.
Yeah.
What can we do to grow the Instagram, the TikTok, everything? And so I've been collaborating with Andrew from Manchester Comic and Toy Convention. I got a chance to interview Ron Rudat from GI Joe. I got a chance to interview Steve Levine from TMNT, which I believe we talked about a couple episodes ago.
Correct.
I'm working on actually taking those interviews and instead of just chopping them into shorts, composing them into like an actual full interview that our listeners will be able to listen to. So we'll have some bonus episodes throughout the
Nice.
summer. So one of the ones that we just did at New England Comic and Toy Convention, as a Transformers fan,
Mhm.
I mean, I was on cloud nine. Like I had a smile ear to ear. I got a chance to interview Bob Budiansky and Kirk Bozigian. So if you're not familiar, Bob Budiansky worked was for Marvel.
Correct.
He was the guy that named like the first Transformers and the first 51 of the 55 comics he wrote. And then he named like all the
It's
Transformers,
crazy,
came
right?
up with the backstories for all of them.
Insane.
And like one of the craziest things that he talked about is like, yeah, they gave me like 20 some odd toys that I had to name, or 20 to 40 toys that I had to name, come up with personalities and a backstory for. And I did that. And then like 7 months later, they came and said, okay, here's 40 more. Do it again. And he was like, okay, but the whole story started with the first 40 being refugees and crash landing on a planet. And the reason that all of them were here were because they were on the same ship.
Yeah.
So he had to all of a sudden come up with brand new ways
That
to introduce 40 Transformers
that were also on the ship.
no, that somehow they also existed in this universe, but couldn't just be like, hey, guess what? There were secret robots on the ship. So like that's how we
Oh.
kind of got like Dinobots and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I was like, man, that's just like crazy because like they introduced like those 40 like throughout like the first season and second season two. But that was like really cool. And then I also got to interview Kirk Bozigian, which for some reason my brain was only recognizing that he worked from Hasbro from like 1984 through the 90s. And I was like, "Oh yeah, GI Joe and Transformers." I didn't think about every other freaking toy line that they produced.
Yeah, he worked on all of them almost.
All of them. Every single one.
It's crazy.
If it was a boy's toy, he did it.
Imagine having that job though. How cool is that?
And dude, so that's the thing. We come at those jobs from the perspective of, oh my god, like you're the mind behind Transformers, or you're the guy that created James Bond Jr.,
Yeah.
Cowboys and Mesa, you're GI Joe. For them, it was just a 9 to 5,
Yeah.
and that was like the biggest thing that I noticed talking to them is that I'm like, was this like an awesome job? And they're like, well, yeah, it was fun. It was fun because I was working with people I enjoyed working with. It wasn't fun because like, oh yeah, I'm making this toy. We're
Yeah.
like, all of our nostalgia is based like in the product. All of their
Well,
nostalgia is basic experience.
yeah, and you got to figure when they were creating these, they were already adults.
Hmm.
So toys didn't mean that much to them. Where we grew up with what they created, which has I think for us it's a bigger, impact
Hmm.
in our,
In our
just
psyche and growing
yeah,
up.
correct.
No, I agree. And it's like that's why I was like, it was interesting to hear them talk about it. Like, I'm thinking like Transformers, and we had Beast Wars and all the
Yeah.
craziness and epicness of Transformers.
And he's like,
And
"Yeah.
Bob Budiansky's like, yep, I got a list of just like weird plastic toys from Japan that I had to create names for. So I just made them up. And like half the names that we freaking like Perceptor, just made it up. Made up the whole thing.
It's crazy.
Ratchet made the whole thing up. Bumblebee
Crazy."
made the whole thing up. Like, I think the only two out of the original he didn't name that they had set names for were Optimus and Megatron.
Yeah, obviously.
That was it.
The
But
2 marquee.
he created everything else. And it was
That's
just like
crazy, man.
I'm still in awe. And
He
like
was
we're like
just
a week
throwing
away
darts at
at
a
the wall.
wall with names.
But that's like with every toy line that they did. Like, yes, Transformers stuck. Yes, G.I. Joe stuck. Cowboys and Mesa did not.
Mm,
James Bond Jr. did
did
not.
not.
Every
Yeah.
other Hasbro line that you we don't remember did not.
Correct.
And that's what's like, yeah, like they went in, did their job. Yeah, that
Isn't
part of the job was good.
isn't that crazy to you though? Like how many toy lines were created in the 80s and 90s that feel like fever dreams? Like
Hmm.
you only remember them when you see them, but just trying to think like remember this line and that line, it doesn't come up only
Well,
until
like,
you see it.
I know we just cut a short on this. Can be a commercial for your store at some
Yeah,
point. But the Savage Mondo Blitzers, I feel like, are a really good example of that. They were produced by Kenner, 1991,
correct.
and just they created all of these little mini like Hot Wheels esque like competitors.
Yeah,
Never knew about their existence before I saw them in your store.
me either. Never knew about it.
And it's funny because you read about it and like it flopped because parents didn't like it because of the every group was called a gang.
Yeah.
But then it also like promotes violence because there's some crazy stuff in the toy line,
Yeah.
and it's just interesting that it's like there are so many toy lines. I would love like a compendium of all just the flopped toy lines.
Yeah. I that would be one of the coolest things ever.
Mhm.
But then the hunters would go out though.
Well, I mean, I think before we get into this or that, I think the other thing that's interesting is like the bootleg market.
Mhm.
Because like we think of bootlegs like for like Ninja Turtles, for the Troll dolls, like there are crazy bootlegs for like popular toy lines.
Correct.
But then you get into like the really weird toy lines, like so one of the lesser known toy lines that people really don't know about are tiger sharks.
Correct.
So Thundercats was produced by LJN, and they also made tiger sharks,
Correct.
which have a very almost like rubbery plastic feel to them.
Yeah.
Crazy looking designs, like flip head action. At the last toy show, we saw bootleg tiger sharks.
Correct.
And it's just like it's already a super rare line, but then to have
Now
bootlegs
bootlegs
of
to the
that,
rare line.
which
Yeah.
just like it's crazy what they made bootlegs of.
I think, it's a market that's like increasing. I mean, big big time YouTubers and you know people in the realm are putting them in the spotlight. I mean, Froggy Flips, the
Hmm.
stuff he runs into is insane.
Well, it's like so many people can have like whatever mad balls in their collection.
Correct.
Like everybody can have an Oculus or a Slobulus, but how many people have a bootleg of a specific character?
Hmm.
I feel like the bootlegs are more rare. And also, if you're in like you love those gross toys that gross out, the more derpy it's looking, the
The
more
better
you
it
love it.
is. Yeah,
So
correct.
like bootlegs are right up that alley.
Yeah,
But what do you say we get into this or that?
let's do it.
So today's This or That segment has been brought to you by ThrowbackBuys.com, your one-stop shop for all things nostalgic. Whether you're looking for kooky sweaters, that Game Boy, or even a Malibu Barbie dream house, Throwback Buys is the site for you. Use our code NJPOD for 15% off your order. Details will be linked in the description below. Okay, bud. So you know that this is like our 80s-ish episode. We missed March, so we're going to end up throwing it back to March and April when we talk about our meat and potatoes. But I kind of wanted to go with some 80s trends for our this or that segment.
Yeah.
So we threw
Only
these up on Instagram. Instagram got to vote. Oh yeah, we did this like we did the voting for this back when we're getting ready to do the March episode. But then we had the table because somebody had to open a store
yeah.
and somebody
Sorry,
was trying to
guys.
go to 90s Con, but then it ended up falling through. So we ended up going thrifting all day.
Yep.
But the first one, I'm thinking like 80s bands.
Okay.
Who would you rather listen to? Journey or Foreigner?
Just because I know them more, Journey.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like I only know like the big Journey song.
I you know why, Journey? I think their logo's pretty cool.
Okay, I agree with that. I agree with that. The Foreigner logo is kind of boring.
and you recognize Journey merchandise from a mile away. It's like it smacks you in the face. Again, those like rock bands, that's not really.
What you're listening to?
Yeah, but if I had to pick between the two, it would be Journey.
What if I put on like Daddy Yankee? Would that be better?
No, I'm
No?
not
Oh,
a
you're not?
reggaeton guy either.
No,
It's
really?
weird, man.
Dude, I like listening to everything.
I like Mozart and Beethoven. No, I'm I don't really have a favorite genre. I can listen to country, rap,
NPR.
whatever, man. Good music is good music no
Mhm.
matter what it is. And, whatever touches your heartstrings, man. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
the weirdest stuff
Yeah,
you
I feel
like.
like I'm a similar way. Whatever when people create a song, you can tell the effort that goes into it.
Right.
I always appreciate that aspect of music,
Yeah.
whether it's rock, metal, country, classical,
Yeah.
opera. If heart and soul has gone into it, like that's what I can tap into.
Right.
That's what it's like. I'll listen to death metal and
Yeah.
I freaking love it. But thinking about our 80s bands,
Okay.
I love Journey and like dude, like Don't Stop Believing. Like I would play the crap out of that on the piano growing up. It was one of the first songs I learned how to play.
Really?
Yeah,
You're gonna go
I'm gonna
foreigner.
go Foreigner, man. Like a little hot blooded, cold
Yeah.
as ice. I love Foreigner. I mean, it's the tape that I've been playing on repeat in my boombox.
Yeah.
Like yeah, I play the tapes in my boombox because
Yeah.
I'm that guy. But I just freaking love it. It's Foreigner for me, which
Okay.
I'll be honest, Instagram heavily disagreed with me. They went 67% Journey, 33% Foreigner.
Okay.
But our next one, which TV show would you gonna tune into?
Oof.
A Team or Knight Rider?
Oh
You already know my answer.
man. Oh man. They're both. Oh, this is gonna kill me, man. Just because I have a ton of memories with my dad, it's gonna be Knight Rider. A Team, they're freaking dope. Mr. T, come on, man.
Mhm.
But Knight Rider, man.
Dude, I'm with you. Like A Team is nostalgic. A Team is great. My mom and I would watch Knight Rider.
Yeah.
And when I found out that William Daniels was the voice of Kit, I already loved him as Mr. Feeney. I lost it.
Yeah.
It became one of my favorite shows. I would just walk around like the house going, "Hello, Michael,"
Yeah.
and it was really cool. Like I wanted to get the same car. Obviously, it doesn't happen, but dude, it's Knight Rider. It's
Yeah.
Knight Rider.
100%.
I find it to be a better show.
Yeah.
Instagram also agreed. 34% A Team, 66% Knight Rider.
Nice.
Looks like our Instagram followers have some taste.
Yeah.
I
Just
was
a
a
little
little
bit.
questioning that after the foreigner blasphemy. But then the last one, which 80s fashion trend?
Ooh. Okay.
Which 80s fashion trend needs to make a comeback?
Okay.
Acid wash jeans or parachute pants?
I think parachute pants are almost here again. You're starting to see the teenagers kind of jump into that realm a little bit. Acid wash, man. You don't see acid wash anymore. It's always a straight color jean, very clean
Mhm.
acid wash, man. Let's bring it back.
I agree. I think acid wash needs to make a return. I get a kick out of it because as soon as joggers
Mhm.
started making a return, or not a really return, started becoming more mainstream and popular, I started to think of like, more like they're like, oh, like tapered harem pants. And now they have the drop crotch,
Yeah.
which are starting to look more like the
Yeah.
parachute pants. And I'm getting a kick out of it because I'm watching the kids wear it to school.
Yeah.
And I threw up MC Hammer, like one of his music videos on
Yeah.
YouTube. And the kid's like, "Why is his fashion like that?" And I'm like, "Have you guys seen what you are wearing?
Yeah.
Like, let's be real."
And I mean, in the Asian community, like Japanese, like parachute pants that crotch drop,
Mhm,
like that's a huge, almost like that, like ninja kind of
mhm,
styling is big in Japan. Like the kids wear it, but they also Japanese love American styles.
mhm,
So there's like a whole like it's weird, like a cholo Japanese
mhm,
cholo like craze in
mhm.
Japan right now. It's crazy where they're Japanese cholos. It's insane.
I got nothing to say to that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Gotta
okay,
look it up,
cool,
guys. It's
cool.
it's crazy. It's actually pretty cool, but it's they love American
Yeah,
like culture. It's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Actually, like, I mean, who was it? Where did I run into them? There was someone that does like toy reselling, but in Japan, and they come to America and buy like a bunch of the stuff here in America,
Mhm.
and then bring it to Japan and sell it.
Yeah.
And it was crazy.
It's big bucks.
Yeah,
Big bucks.
yeah. But I also agree with Acid Wash, and Instagram did too.
Yes, let's go.
63% for acid wash jeans and 37% for parachute pants.
Yeah.
So there are still
Sorry.
people who want parachute pants.
Sorry, MC.
Yeah. They should stay in the 80s and not come back.
Yeah, correct.
But what do you say we get into meat and potatoes?
Alright, let's do it.
So on today's episode, we're going to be diving 40 years into our past. It is our throwback episode. So we're going to be looking at March and April
Little combo.
combo because we missed March. So March and April of 1985. We're
Mhm.
going to talk about some movies, going to talk about some TV shows, and
Music.
Cruz told me he has some music information.
A
Cool.
little.
So we're going to let Cruz take the music segment today.
Oh, nice.
So let's just dive into the box office. We'll start with March and we'll just kind of go down. But what was released in March to April?
Alright.
One of the first bigger movies, and I know this more from the Family Guy bit,
Mhm.
was Mask with Rocky Dennis.
Really?
Rocky Dennis movie, yeah.
Nice.
Which I'll be honest, I've still never seen it. But I mean, it's definitely pop culture noteworthy enough. I mean, it made it into bits on Family Guy, and I recognized what the movie was and what it was
Correct.
about.
Correct.
Up next, we kind of get into the trope of cartoons trying to integrate their way into theaters.
Okay.
We had the Secret of the Sword. It was the He-Man and She-Ra movie. This was a
Really?
theatrical release.
Really?
It essentially was the first 5 episodes of She-Ra
Yeah.
that they just fused together, but
Mm.
they released it in theaters.
I wonder how long did that run?
I want to say it was like a month and a half.
That's it?
It debuted in March, and then the show premiered in September, I believe.
Okay.
I'm like trying to pull back from my quick research,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
thought that was interesting. Like, I mean, I was watching the trailers earlier, and it was like it had Hordak, it had Skeletor. You have all your cast of characters. They really tried to lean heavily on like, oh, He-Man and his friends have to fight a brand new enemy. And then they obviously introduce She-Ra, and they tell us that she's Adora or whatever her name was.
Yeah.
I wasn't that big into She-Ra.
Me either.
I was, I can't say I wasn't into He-Man. I really liked He-Man for a while. But yeah, so the Secret of the Sword was another big release. Didn't crack the top Billboard at all.
No.
No. But then after that, we had Friday the 13th, A New Beginning.
Ooh.
hmm So that was sorry, all my notes got moved around. Yeah, Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, which I know that earlier this season we did a dive into horror movies.
Mhm.
I haven't seen this, but like I know you kind of like some horror movies.
Mhm.
Have you actually seen this movie?
I've seen them all.
Although
All the Freddies.
this one was blockbuster.
Yes.
It was top of the chart.
Mhm.
Any comments on Friday the 13th, A New Beginning?
It was okay. My favorite is 3. Dream Child. It was good. I mean, first one, second one, third one is my favorite.
Mhm. Is
Yeah,
this number 2?
2. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we did 84. We had the
Mhm.
first Nightmare on Elm.
Friday the 13th.
It came out in 85. I thought it came out in 84.
The first Friday the 13th.
Came out in 84, right?
I don't know.
You got it.
No, that was Nightmare on Elm Street.
84.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, the original. I don't know when that one came out.
Elm Street is the original. That's
Friday
the
the
first one
13th?
with Johnny Depp. Yes.
I thought Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm were two different franchises. Friday the 13th is with Jason.
Oh,
Nightmare
sorry.
on Elm was Freddy Krueger.
So Friday the 13th.
Buddy, I haven't seen these movies.
Jesus, I'm so confused.
I haven't seen.
No.
How am I teaching
Friday.
you?
Yo, so yes, Friday the 13th. Yes, I'm so
How am I teaching you horror movies?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't even give you a Jason movie on the list, did I?
There's no Jason.
That's crazy. So yes, Friday the 13th, Crystal Lake, great
Yes.
movie. If I had to pick between Freddy,
Yep.
Nightmare on Elm, and Friday the 13th, which one was the scariest first movie?
Mhm.
Just because it's more realistic, Friday the 13th. Because my family was big into camping.
Mhm.
So, like, I always, even though I never went to like a summer camp, I always like, man, going
Yep.
to the bathroom in the dark. Like, yeah. So, for me, out of the two franchises, Friday the 13th, the first movie, is a lot scarier to me.
Okay. I gotta watch a Jason movie. I can't weigh in on the Jason conversation.
It's a slasher. He's more of a
Which-
slasher.
I feel like I actually enjoy the slashers more than I thought I would hate them.
He's like a slow but faster version of Michael Myers. It's weird. They're almost the same guy, kinda.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Okay.
Wow, that was jeez.
Yeah.
Long day.
So Friday the 13th, A New Beginning,
Okay.
released in March, which is weird because I feel like we put horror movies all at like October.
Correct.
But I mean, obviously they have to come out before October to then be popular in October.
Correct.
So this was, blockbuster, top of the chart for a week.
Yeah.
It then got knocked out by another movie. But before we talk about that one, let's talk about another cartoon. Another cartoon that got a movie release.
Which one was that?
The Care Bear movie.
Hmm.
You didn't watch the Care Bear stare?
I did. I watched Care Bear.
Yeah.
I have it in my collection.
Dude, I watched a little bit of this, and I gotta say, it wasn't good.
No,
It was
I
bad.
mean, I think Care Bear in general as a cartoon wasn't great. I just remember watching it because of my sister, really.
Mhm.
Yeah, whatever.
So, like, would you say that like Care Bears were then like really popular with more of the younger female demographic,
Yeah, I think
or just like younger
I
demographic?
I think it was targeted to the younger demographic.
Mhm.
I mean, look at the characters, man. They're really just cute
Little
little
bears.
animals with
Like I put them on the same level as like Smurfs,
Yep.
Franklin.
Yep. Snorks.
I feel like
Snarks.
the Snorks were a little more comedic, but like yeah, like around the same
They're
thing.
all
Yeah.
right there. Flintstones kids.
Flintstones kids, yeah. Where it was really that younger group, like
Mhm.
Little Bear.
Little Bear.
And like, dude, I watched it. The thing that got me though was the animation quality.
It was
Garbage.
yeah.
It was garbage.
Yeah.
There were multiple frames in the movie
Mm-hmm.
that weren't colored correctly.
Correct.
Like there were straight up frames where the bear is just one color from top to bottom. Eyes, mouth, everything. Just one color. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And I'm thinking like, if the cartoons are putting a movie out,
Yeah.
this is like their big commercial to sell their toy line.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's not even
Hey.
done well.
Didn't matter. It was still popular.
That's true. I guess the kids aren't looking at the animation quality.
Care Bears. I mean, there's still a huge following. Adults, little kids. I mean, our buddy David's daughter
Loves them.
Kylie loves Care Bears.
So I'm gonna say this, and we're probably gonna get some ire for it. I'm also going to preface this with I am not the target demographic for this. I have never understood Polly Pocket, Care Bears, and Strawberry Shortcake. Never understood it.
Yeah.
It's
I
yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, girls probably don't understand turtles and
That was my caveat. I was like, I'm sure there's a female going out there going, I don't understand Mighty Max and Street Sharks and
yeah,
Creepy Crawlers, and it's
yeah.
like, okay, yep, or
It's just
Mad Balls, like,
yeah,
which like yeah, that's fine. But like, if you are a fan of Strawberry Shortcake, Polly Pocket, Care Bears, I really want to know what is it
My Little
that you
Ponies.
love. Like, what is it? Is it the storyline, the characters? Is it the lighthearted nature? So let us know in the comments below. If you're a fan of Care Bear franchise or any of the similar franchises, let us know why. I'm genuinely curious and I would love to read your answers and then we can share them out here.
Correct. Let's do it.
But let's talk about the movie that dethroned Friday the 13th,
Okay. What is it?
Police Academy 2.
Ho, 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 ho. Oh,
Police Academy 2.
have you watched
I
Police?
watched the first one.
Okay.
I have not watched the second one, but having watched the first one, obviously,
Same over the top.
yeah, it's the same nature. And it's funny because like I went through and I made sure I watched all of the trailers, at
Yeah.
least for the movies. So I knew a little bit about these movies and it wasn't walking in blind. I got a kick out of one of the quotes that like I know from like just being repeated, all this stuff was from Police Academy 2. So when the kid's in the car and doesn't want to go into school,
Mm-hmm.
and the kid's like, "You're gonna go now." And he goes, "I'll go when I'm ready." He goes, "You're ready now, mister." And like shoots the car, and
Yeah.
it's like, and I'm like, "Oh, that's fun."
Yeah.
Like I love that.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny how that franchise carried on though, because I think they did 5 or 6 of them.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's funny for you watch them now, and they're I don't know if they hold up as much, but yeah,
It was
in
kind of
the
like those
time,
it's kind of like stoner comedies for the 90s, 2000s. Like
yeah,
stoner comedies were like a big thing in like the late 90s to early 2000s.
correct,
This like over the top, goofy, campy style movie was really big during the 80s between the Police Academy, any of the National Lampoon, and then as
Return
well
of the
as
Nerds or the
exactly Revenge
Nerds,
of the Nerds.
Revenge of the Nerds
Like
and the
that,
Nerds,
Animal House, like
Animal
all
House,
of those like that over the top
romp,
that was
kind
really
of
big.
raunchy,
Exactly.
yeah,
Where like it started to die down. But what I'm finding interesting when we started this series back in September,
mm-hmm,
the movies that we were talking about that were the top box office earners were movies that started to come out in April and May of 1984.
mm-hmm,
We're now getting into those months where we're going to start seeing those bigger box office earners.
correct,
Because, like, for example, Police Academy 2 held the highest box office from March 31st to March 21st.
okay,
And then the movie that dethroned it was Stick with Burt Reynolds, not
Burt
Birth
Reynolds,
Reynolds. But yeah, which I mean, have you watched Stick?
no,
It's it's Burt Reynolds kind of playing Burt Reynolds. He's like just causing
that's
trouble.
almost
Yeah,
every
it
Magnum, he was like the same guy over and
over and
over and
over.
over again.
Yeah, and it was like he got wronged. He lost the money. He
Yeah.
had to get the money. He plays a guy that does the bad things for the right reason, but is
So
also a hero.
he's our new version of Burt Reynolds is The Rock.
Yeah,
He plays
yeah.
himself in every movie.
The only thing I was gonna say about Stick is like it definitely looked like an interesting movie,
Yeah.
but like you said, it's the same thing
Yeah.
over and over again. And it makes me wonder like this
It
movie definitely went top earner because it was a Burt Reynolds movie.
it's weird how I mean, obviously I was too young, so I don't know his early work, but it it's interesting how popular Burt Reynolds like he was an icon
Mhm.
in the 70s and 80s, and even a little in the early 90s, but I can't really pinpoint like, oh yeah, Burt Reynolds is awesome. Like,
Yeah,
it's weird.
there wasn't any. I mean, I feel like the biggest thing for me with Burt Reynolds, and this is stupid that I'm identifying this is like why know of Burt Reynolds more than just his movies.
Yeah.
Archer. You ever watch
Mm,
Archer on FX?
yeah,
Burt Reynolds was like the main character's hero.
correct.
So he modeled his personality after Burt Reynolds. They had like homages to Burt
Yeah.
Reynolds, and it was just humorous. Like that's I feel like I know Burt Reynolds more from
Because of
how he's been an
yeah,
icon that's
yeah,
influenced pop culture versus
yeah.
actual Burt Reynolds. The only thing that comes to my mind when I think of like what I've seen Burt Reynolds actually do is the interview on Jay Leno with Mark Summers.
Yeah, you're right. But
So, if you're not familiar with this interview,
yeah.
I'll try and find a clip and we'll overlay it on YouTube. So, if you're not watching the podcast on YouTube, you're missing all the fun, silly antics and faces we make at each other when we're recording. But Burt Reynolds and Mark Summers were both being interviewed by Jay Leno.
Hmm.
And Mark Summers is in the seat closest to Jay Leno, turned to Jay Leno, talking to Jay Leno. And all of a sudden, like, I think Jay was trying to involve Bert in the conversation, or Mark turned to involve Bert in the conversation. It's like, oh, did you hear? What did you think of that? And he goes, oh, I couldn't hear you because your back was to me. And it was just like, oh,
Oh,
dang.
yeah, he
And
ain't playing.
he wasn't playing. And then they started kind of like snipping at each
Yeah,
other. And Burt Reynolds made a comment about Mark Summers like not really being OCD and like not being a germaphobe
yeah,
because he was doing Double Dare. And it's like, oh, obviously, like, you don't really, you're just hamming this up. This
yeah.
is a shtick because you're getting covered with slime every other day. And then Mark Summers made a comment about Bert's marriage,
Ooh,
which ended up leading to, I think, them getting pied in the face. And it was like a whole thing. And it's funny because Burt Reynolds is like a tall guy.
yeah.
Mark Summers is not.
Burt Reynolds is like the man's man of the 80s, right?
Mhm.
The mustache, the hairy chest,
Oh, yeah.
just
The Tom Selleck before Tom Selleck.
yeah, he's like the cowboy
Hmm.
of the 80s, man.
Hmm.
But yeah, all right, good job, Burt.
Yeah, but then there's just really one other movie that I thought was kind of notable from April. It wasn't like a big movie, but I thought it was interesting because it had a younger Sarah Jessica Parker. Girls Want to Have Fun, or
Yeah,
Girls Just Want to Have Fun,
just want to have fun.
which has the iconic Deo Deo
Mhm.
theme when they're in the girls' choir.
Funny is I have a sealed copy that I was when I was filling my shelves on Saturday in the VHS section.
Hmm.
That VHS was sealed, and I was like, "Yeah, I got to take it home for the wife." I didn't even know I had it, but
Hmm.
it's one of those that she always talks about. So, Magali, I got a sealed copy.
Yeah.
She doesn't care. She's gonna rip it to watch it, but
Oh yeah, of course.
yeah,
Yeah, I thought it was an
she was
interesting movie.
super young there,
Yeah.
super.
But it also was like we talked about, Police Academy 2 kind of having that trope of being the overly crazy,
Hmm.
goofy movies. I feel like girls just want to have fun,
It was the teen version of it.
and it was starting it.
Yeah.
Like we had a little bit with like Ferris Bueller and stuff like
Hmm.
that. But this is, I feel like, what kind of then bled into like 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah. Yeah. All of them. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a bunch after that, but yeah, it's that little circle of life of teenage madness movies, which were
Hmm.
great.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are our favorites: 16 Candles,
Hmm.
Breakfast Club,
Pretty in
Weird
Pink.
Science. There's man,
There's a lot.
so much of
There's a
them.
lot.
Yeah,
But what do you say we talk about some of the big things in TV?
yeah.
And this one, like, I wish we had a Puzo on because
I know
Puzo
David.
he could have talked circles around us with this one.
Yeah, David is like our specialist with
With this. So one of the big things in March, the first ever WrestleMania premiered
crazy.
as the pay-per-view.
Yep.
March 31st, 1985.
Yep.
And the two wrestlers used as the poster advertisers, Mr. T and Hulk Hogan,
Correct.
which was just like crazy.
Yeah. So obviously, I was only one, or
I
not
was I
even.
was -8.
Yeah. So this is March, April. No, I'm sorry. I'm only like 8 months old. So my cousins, my older cousins, were crazy wrestling fans. So every year they would watch the first WrestleMania prior to watching that year's WrestleMania. So later on, I was able to watch it, and it was like, one of those things that they did. So yeah,
Mhm,
epic WrestleMania. But
mhm,
yeah, I wish I could talk more about it.
mhm,
I liked wrestling, but I
mhm.
wasn't a fanatic.
Yeah, I feel like, you either were diehard into wrestling
Correct.
and it has been a long-standing trait in your personality,
Hmm.
like it is just a passion for you, or you liked it as a kid and it fell off.
Correct.
And I feel like for both of us, that's kind of how wrestling was. Like, I liked the wrestling video games
Yeah.
more than I actually liked watching wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, I had fun watching wrestling with Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, that era, Sting. Just that era for me was pretty awesome. But then again, for me, as I got older and really realized that
Mhm.
it was all scripted and not real. Um,
Not real beef and fights.
Not real. Yeah, it's all scripted. And I'm sorry, wrestling fans. I respect your passion for
It's
it.
real athleticism.
Yes, correct. But it's just the storylines are scripted. I kind of lost interest because of that.
Mhm.
Guys were hugging in the back and they were mortal enemies like two
Mhm.
seconds ago.
But
So
so I mean, I get a kick out of this. My mom's told me this story multiple times. Her ex-husband in Canada owned a construction company,
okay.
and two of the guys that worked for him were part of like the local like wrestling
Wrestling.
league,
Yeah.
and one of them was a heel. So like, Friday nights at the
Yeah.
VFW, they were fighting, they were arguing, they were cussing and swearing at each other. Come Monday morning, they were sipping coffee out on their coffee break.
Yeah.
So it was funny because like, she tells me that story and like I think about that like growing up. Like I feel like that also kind of took me out of wrestling. Because like
Yeah.
I learned that wrestling, like the drama wasn't real drama. It was basically the man or the testosterone fueled soap opera.
Yeah, we have to ask our buddy from Kojo's because he just retired this
Yeah.
year. So
Maybe
we
once
should
we
interview him.
maybe if we expand the podcast a little bit, we can get him
Yeah.
on.
Be interesting to see because he made it into some of the bigger platforms. So
Mhm.
would be interesting to see like
What he
what
thinks.
he thinks, the backstory.
Do you? Is there any like one fight from wrestling growing up that like sticks with you?
Hulk Hogan, Yokozuna. Just him picking him up, man. It was just one of those things. It's That's one of the ones I remember. That was WrestleMania as well, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
So yeah, that and there was a WrestleMania. There was a time period, and people, please, if you remember the stupid clowns, the main clown that had like the little people clowns that would do bad things. Please, I don't remember the clown's name, but I remember during WrestleMania, they pulled someone under the stage and it was like a disappearing act. And it was like one of the greatest things ever. Please, if you remember the clown with the little clown minions, let me know. I forget their name, but I remember that
Mhm.
it was one of the WrestleManias or one of the pay-per-views. Stupid clowns.
I might be way off here. Maybe it's not wasn't John Cena, but was it? I didn't he pick up the Big Show at one point?
Was it John Cena?
I feel like he picked up the because I remember wasn't it Big Show that got picked up
Yeah.
and like nobody had really picked him up before
Yes.
and he
Yes.
just picked him up and slammed him?
I'm not sure if it's John Cena, but yes, the Big Show had never been like over the head picked up.
I'm,
But I
I'm,
don't.
I thought it was John Cena
It might have been.
because I
It
remember
might
it
have
was like,
been.
oh, because I want to say he was still kind of a newcomer
Yeah.
back then, and it was just like it kind of solidified him. Like, oh, this is
This
him.
dude is strong too. I mean, the Big Show is what 6'9", almost 7 feet.
He's a big boy,
Like
and
400
he
pounds.
was a big boy then.
He was like 400 pounds, but he wasn't like fat. He was just a large man.
Back then, he was like muscular fat.
Yeah, he made Diesel look small, and Diesel was also a big dude.
Mhm.
But yeah, the Big Show, man.
I feel like though, for me, like the one match, if you talk to me about
Yeah.
wrestling, the one thing that always like it's what my brain goes to:
Mhm.
Batista versus the Great Khali,
Oh yeah,
the Punjabi prison
yeah,
match. That was like it was a nasty fight. Like Batista, like when I actually watched wrestling, that was like my favorite wrestler
yeah,
between him and Rey Mysterio.
yeah.
But like I
Ooh,
watched Batista just get
Rey
his ass
Mysterio.
handed to him by the Great Khali, and Great Khali's finally starting to climb out of the mat. There were like 2 rounds of like these giant like bamboo like walls
Bruh.
that they had to climb over, and the Great Khali goes out over the first one, out of the ring, drops down to the floor, starts climbing up the second one. Batista gets up off the mat, starts climbing up the first round, and jumps from the first wall to the second wall to then drop off the backside and
What
win.
what was your favorite rivalry?
Dude, so here's the thing. I didn't really watch enough to know the rivalries.
Okay.
I would kind of like tune in. If it looked like an interesting fight, I would tune
your
in.
watch.
But like
Yeah.
I don't know the
To me,
storylines. Like
I mean, one of the most epic that I remember is Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels, man. Those two went at it for years. And obviously Shawn Michaels usually always he was the pretty boy, man. But yeah, that rivalry is a big, and obviously Hulk Hogan and Macho Man, and there's a bunch, but Bret Hart, he was like one of my favorite wrestlers, and then Shawn Michaels, I hated him bad. He was like a anti-hero,
Mhm.
sort of like he was good but bad. It was weird.
But I think, before we both make both of ourselves look like more of an idiot,
Yeah, correct. Let's do it.
let's just talk about some other TV shows and let's get Dave on who can actually like be our resident wrestling expert.
Yeah, sorry, Dave.
But I mean, quick thing, WCW, which is another wrestling federation,
Correct.
premiered on TBS on April 6th. April 9th, Three's Company would air their final episode. Dude, I love Three's Company.
Me too, man.
And then
Come and knock on my door.
we'll be waiting for you.
Mm, 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 mm.
Three's Company
Three's
too.
two.
Okay, you don't pay to listen to us sing. You don't
Yep,
pay at
sorry,
all. This
guys.
is free. 6 shows premiered in the month of April.
Correct.
There was nothing in the month of March that was anything noteworthy. But 6 shows.
I'm sorry. That just clicked. Three's Company aired their last episode in 1985.
Yeah.
I watched Three's Company into the 90s.
TV Land. Nick at Night.
Holy crap.
Mhm.
That's how great that show was.
Syndicated.
That it ran.
Mhm.
Whoa. Okay, sorry.
Okay, so 6 shows premiered.
Yes.
Me and Mom,
Okay.
Hail to the Chief, Double Dare, not the Nickelodeon one,
Okay.
Lady Blue, The Best Times, and National Geographic Explorer. Do you know what all those shows have in common? They lasted 1 season.
Jeez.
That's why, like, if you like, dude, I saw Double Dare and I'm like, oh, this is great. And like, oh, it's not that one. Yeah, none of these shows were really anything noteworthy. The only thing that was actually kind of interesting is National Geographic Explorer
Yeah,
premiered
I
on
don't
Nickelodeon.
I don't recognize
Any of
any
them.
of the other ones.
But National Geographic Explorer premiered on Nickelodeon. Eventually, it got moved to the Nick at Night block,
Okay,
which we'll talk about this in a couple months. The Nick at Night block premiered in July of 1985.
nice.
But Nickelodeon kind of was like, well, this isn't really our shtick.
Mhm,
And they canceled the National Geographic Explorer. It would then get picked up by TBS. And over the last 40 years,
mhm.
it's been on 5 networks and has run for a total of 233 episodes.
Jeez.
So after getting canceled, it was the one show that survived,
Not just survived.
but really also then kind of built its own network,
Correct.
National Geographic Network.
Yeah.
But like the reason they did the National Geographic Explorer is they used to do all these PBS specials.
Mhm.
They were like expensive and a deep dive. And instead of paying a lot for one special, they did an actual series,
Yeah.
which somehow Nickelodeon says, we'll
Dang.
take it.
I love PBS, man.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Well, music, bud. And you said you had some music stuff for us.
I have
One music thing.
one music thing. So, We Are the World
Yep. Which we
aired.
know was recorded a couple months ago.
Yeah, it was released finally this March, April. It was released in April. Thanks, Magali. My wife did some research for me. It was actually simultaneously aired across 170 networks at one time. Pretty crazy. I mean, we are
It's,
the world,
it's,
man.
I would say it's one of the most influential pieces of music.
And I think we talked about it in another episode. We Are the World will never happen again.
Nope.
The amount of talent and A-list talent
Mhm.
on one record will never happen again.
And it's like, it's crazy because we were talking about one of like the surprise singers on the album
Mhm.
was Dan Aykroyd.
Correct.
And it was just because he was happened to be there and they brought him in.
Yeah.
But yeah, like We Are the World will never happen again. It's a phenomenal piece of music.
Correct.
And quite honestly, I don't know what else we can say about it that hasn't been said in the past 2 times we've talked about it this
Correct.
season.
No, it's amazing. It's
Yeah, it keeps popping up, and it honestly, I'm a little curious over the next 40 years that we'll
yeah.
be discussing. How many times will We Are the World pop up as it was used or inspired or influenced
It's gonna be
something?
I mean, obviously with Michael being
Michael.
yeah, I mean, it's
Mhm.
gonna live forever. I don't care. We're gonna 1,000 years down the road, they're gonna be like, there was once this magical singer called Michael Jackson
Mhm.
that put together a gang of singers and
A
they
gang.
saved Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what do you say we get into our trivia cards?
Ooh, okay. These are gonna be good today.
Okay, so being a throwback episode, instead of doing our classic 90s trivia,
Mm-hmm.
we are going to be doing our 80s trivia. So we each have 3 80s trivia clues.
Correct.
And do you want to ask or go first?
I'll ask.
Okay.
The Garbage Pail Kids were first introduced to the world as what? A comic book, a Saturday morning cartoon, an animated feature film, or trading cards?
I mean, I want to say trading cards because I know the trading cards. However, I feel like that's too easy of an answer. And I've recently seen the tape pop up.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say animated feature film.
Should have stuck to your guns, senor.
Oh,
Trading cards.
oh,
But
dude.
also had a comic at one point.
It had all 4 of those
Yes.
things. That's
Yeah.
why I was thinking, like, the that the tape got released, like, they did the feature film. didn't do well.
Yeah.
And then
The
they sucked with the
mystical
cards.
that, I mean, we've run into that maybe once. It's
The
hard to
tape?
find. It's expensive too.
I've only seen it on eBay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right.
Okay.
Sorry, bud.
Let's do the math. 80s style.
Okay.
Number of contestants on the Wheel of Fortune plus the number of bidders on the Price is Right contestant row.
So Wheel of Fortune is 3.
Okay.
Bidders, I think I'm gonna say 5.
Okay.
Am I right?
I don't know. You tell me.
I think that's where I'm at. 3 Wheel of Fortune, 5 for
So 8 total.
8 total.
Very close. 4. It was 4 for Price is Right. You were so close. You were so close.
Dang. Okay.
Come on down.
Yeah.
Price was wrong, Bob.
All right. So your next one. Put these inventions in order they hit the market. Earliest to latest.
Great.
Camcorder, Microsoft Windows, Prozac.
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 Why am I blanking on what Prozac is?
Prozac.
What the hell's Prozac?
I think it's
The drug?
yeah.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought it was too. So camcorder, Windows,
Prozac.
Prozac.
Earliest to latest.
Earliest to latest. I'm gonna go Windows, camcorder, Prozac.
Flip the first 2.
Camcorder, Windows, Prozac.
Mm-hmm.
So the order it was written.
83, 85, 87.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
What is Prozac? I'm curious now.
Isn't it Prozac? Isn't it like
It's a drug.
I know it's a drug.
Oh, it's for depression.
Yeah.
Oh.
There was a lot of Prozac going around.
I just buy toys instead.
Me too.
Okay. What links these 3 clues together? Gobo, Boober, Jim Henson.
What was it again?
Gobo, Boober, Jim Henson.
Oh man. Is it? I was gonna say that. It's Fraggle Rock,
It's
man.
Fraggle Rock.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Your last one. According to the end of every G.I. Joe episode, what is half the battle?
Knowing.
Ding, 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 ding. That's, I mean, even if you're not a Joe, you got to know.
And now you know. And knowing is half the battle.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about Care Bears earlier today.
Okay.
And you had them in your store.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you pay attention to the Care Bears in your store?
Not a lot.
Oh. Well, what color Care Bear
Mm-hmm.
was the Cheer Bear?
Yellow.
Incorrect.
Oh.
Pink.
Oh, I tried.
It was like, oh well,
No.
it's about Care Bears, which we both said we don't give a crap about.
Yeah, sorry guys. Oh man.
Dude, I will say, like, I couldn't give 2 craps about Care Bears.
Me either.
However, I do like Grumpy Bear.
Yeah, I mean, some of the, Yeah.
I was more of a Wuzzles kid.
Wuzzles were cool.
I like my Wuzzles.
Wuzzles were a lot cooler than Care Bears. Sorry, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were more boy.
I will say, I think the best was Gummy Bears.
Oh, 100. I mean, nothing compares.
Gummy Berry Juice, buddy.
Yeah.
Bouncing here and there and everywhere.
Gummy Bears. Sorry, guys. All right.
I've been Alex.
I've been Cruz.
This has been Nostalgia Junkies. Peace.
Peace out.